whether it's the technology sort of history or human history, when new challenges comes in, when chaotic situation happens, the ones that eventually thrive are the ones who actually took the opportunity to embrace the chaos. Reimagining means not just repotting it from on-prem to the cloud. Evolving it does not mean we're just going to do the same thing over and over again, just with different technology. It's really rethinking the premise of what security needs to be.
The cloud is great. It solves a lot of real-world problems, but it's not just one cloud anymore. Public clouds, private clouds, edge clouds. The average business uses 5 different cloud providers. It's become chaotic and complex, with unpredictable costs, inconsistent security, multiple management tools, and different formats for workloads that span cloud platforms and providers. But it doesn't have to be that way. The Dell Technologies Cloud, powered by VMware, can be the one constant across your clouds. It brings consistent infrastructure and operations to your multi-cloud environment, so you can choose the right cloud for each application. A public cloud that lets you easily tap into services. A private cloud that's fully under your control. Or the edge with cloud as a service. With a true hybrid cloud experience, your business becomes more agile with simple workload migration and easy onboarding for new assets. Your teams get to market faster. With simplified operations and automated processes, you reduce risk and strengthen your security profile. And with Dell Technologies Cloud, you have flexible consumption options, reducing your total cost of ownership. Like it or not, the business world often requires many clouds. Now, that's easier than ever, with consistent infrastructure, operations, and services across all your clouds. You get the cloud without the chaos. The Dell Technologies Cloud.
So very, very privileged to have the keynote today by Haiyan Song. And I would like to first introduce Nat, who will be moderating the session with Haiyan. So I'll let him do the introduction of Haiyan. She's a phenomenally talented person here who's been at the forefront of security for many years here. So Nat, I've been privileged to know Nat over the years. He's a founder and president at Acalvio, and just a consummate networker and connector out in the industry, and of course a leader in the space and an entrepreneur. And also, if you don't know, if you want to find him, you can usually find him at the peak of some mountain. He's an avid hiker, and he's always climbing some mountain or the other. I'm sure he's done pretty much most of the mountains on the planet as of now. So maybe once Elon Musk allows him to go to Mars, he may be climbing some stuff there as well. So tremendous experience in the industry. A number of smaller startups that became bigger companies, and then now at Acalvio, he drives it. So I would like to invite Nat and introduce Haiyan, and what we know today, and with some Q&A. Over to you, Nat.
Thank you very much, Girish. I really appreciate it. Good morning, good afternoon. Hope everything is well with you and your families. It's an incredible pleasure for me to introduce Haiyan Song. Haiyan, a number of you would know her. She's been on the cover page of Fortune, Forbes, top executives in cybersecurity in the overall IT field. She's a general manager of security business at Splunk. As you know, Splunk and security have literally become synonymous the last 5 years, and much credit goes to Haiyan. Security is all about data. You cannot protect what you don't know anything about, and Splunk is all about data. So it is a very hand-in-glove fit for Splunk to dominate the security field, and Haiyan has led that charge in transforming Splunk to a security leader. And she has made some very bold organic and inorganic growth initiatives to achieve this leadership position. As you can imagine, it's just hard to do this organically. She earned her stripes through hard work in database security at Informix, and later at ArcSight. She led ArcSight to a leadership position in the SIM industry, leading to HPE acquiring them. She has a degree from Tsinghua University, which is one of the few schools in the world that'll make MIT, IIT, Stanford sort of look like also ran community colleges. So in terms of technical chops, academic chops, industry chops, she comes up with the best of them. Every time I see Haiyan in action in a podium, I've seen her at Splunk Live conferences or in smaller meetings, I learn a lot. She's a wealth of information, great insights, and I'm sure you will. Without further ado, please join me in giving Haiyan a huge welcoming hand. Haiyan, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
I've always chosen to surround myself by great people who are very forward-thinking when it comes to gender issues and diversity. I think diversity is a key and central element of any environment, and I've never been in an environment where diversity doesn't lead to a better place. From a science perspective, we know that if you have greater diversity of microbes, for example, in your gut, that you're more likely to be healthy. And that's finding of diversity of microbes in your gut. If you think about the diversity of people in a working environment, it leads to a healthier environment and more innovation.
I hope you can hear me all right.
I can hear you well.
It's such an honor and privilege to be here. I've heard of Thai for many years, and I know it's given birth for many of our iconic companies and leaders in the industry. I'm just super honored to be here to speak with all of you. And I know that there will be another wave of new great companies and leaders born from all these efforts by the organizers and by this community. If you let me share some screens, slides to guide our conversation. Just give me 1 minute. Let me just get started on that. All right. Here, we're gonna share. Can you guys see anything yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Sorry, some technical difficulties. Give me 1 second. I will get them going. Okay. All right. We may have to do without
Haiyan, why don't you start? And what we'll do is we'll try to figure it out in the background here.
Okay, sure. Okay, hold on. I think, all right. All right. Yeah, oh well. Somehow our system is not, the new system, it's not working. Girish, could you do me a favor? I forwarded you a slide deck. Would you be able to share from your side and I'll do the talk track?
Yeah,
okay.
I'll do that.
All right.
So start.
Perfect.
And I'll get on it in a second and then do it.
All right. Sorry about that. So that's, I guess, speaks to the topic of today's keynote is when we are working with a lot of new dynamics, we have to be ready to deal with chaos. That's really sort of the topic about how we are in the security industry can take the opportunity, embrace the chaos, and reimagine what we need to do in cybersecurity. As Nat, graciously introduced me, I work at Splunk, And some of you may have heard of us, some of you may still wonder, what does Splunk mean? I thought I'll give you a little primer, and that sort of speaks to volumes of why the strategy and what we've been working on. So from the very beginning, the founders founded Splunk to really help tame machine data. And go to the next slide about Splunk, please. It's really coming from the word for underground cave exploration. And nowadays, we really can imagine the amount of data that's generated and how the darkness could ensue if we don't have a way of exploring them and getting the insights from them. And our mission is about turning data into doing. So next, as we revisit our human history, and many of you know, throughout the years, billions of years evolution, there's always this chaotic and messy process. But through that chaotic process, the humans has been able to adapting, experimenting, and we know new challenges breeds new opportunities. And look at how wonderful the world it has evolved. I know this year is a little different, but still, if you just look back at the human industry, human history, many of the advancements, evolutions come through people responding to chaotic times. Next slide. And in the digital world, we actually see exactly the same thing. It's just millions times faster. And if you think about 2020, I wanted you to really reflect on it. Reflect on what are some of the themes or words come to mind. Well, I'm sure you think about COVID. I'm sure, remote working, delivery, grocery deliveries, craziness of trying to figure out the vaccines. But chaos is probably one of the words that would reflect a lot of the sentiment we've experienced this year. In the meantime, when you think about how chaotic the world has been, and if you have been watching the stock market, I know I have been watching it with just amazed surprises day in, day out. One of the things that I think we can all conclude, whether it's the technology sort of history or human history, when new challenges comes in, when chaotic situation happens, the ones that eventually thrive are the ones who actually took the opportunity to embrace the chaos and step up to the challenges and take this opportunity to turn the crisis into truly disruptive opportunities to innovate and find new ways to do things better. Next slide, please. So my key topic, this keynote is for us to all look at what's happening around us. We know COVID has accelerated the digitization process for many companies. And I know many of you could name several of the things that's happening around us, from smartphones to smart cities to smart homes, from machine learning, AI. We talk about self-driving, autonomous vehicles. And now, I just heard this week, drone delivery from Amazon is coming to our doors. So crazy times, exciting times, but it's also the time that not only new data gets created, and Nat talked about how powerful the data is, but new attack surface is born as well. So think about sort of the human history. Whenever there's a lot of new wave of things for improving our lives, there's a new wave of exploits and adversaries is coming, try to take advantage of it, and that's impacting our lives. Next slide, please. We know what's coming our way with all the technology adoption. Chaos would ensue. Chaos in the darknet, chaos in disrupting, how we live, how we work. And as I mentioned, this is the best opportunity, best timing. Well, we live in unprecedented times for sure, but this is probably also presented unprecedented opportunities for all of us in the security industry to really figure out what's happening. So let's zero in our security industry. What are the prevailing trends? To the next slide. So there's several of those. We talked about embracing the chaos, and what are the things that's creating the opportunities in security? It's really rooted around data, rooted around digital transformation. There's a few that I think we see them day in, day out from my customer conversations, industry analyst interactions. Let's go to the next slide. So start from the first one. We know COVID accelerated the digital transformation. And we know the future of our industry, of our enterprise, going to be represented by the data. So to develop an effective security strategy, it's increasingly reliant on really having the strong data foundation and building the security strategy in concert with your digitalization strategy, data strategy, because you just heard about the AI and data privacy. And that's not only about data can bring you the insights, help you make better decisions, take faster actions, but it also could be a major risk if it's not managed correctly. The second prevailing trend that we have seen is automation. It's now key to survival. It's not a nice to have. It's not something that the early adopters should only worry about, because everybody now can see things, especially the attacks are happening at machine speed. If you're not able to automate, you really cannot defend yourself, defend your enterprise effectively. And that is key to survival. A third major factor in our market is the new element in cloud. It's not just about new computing infrastructure. It's not about you don't run your machines and someone else runs that. It's actually a very new, brand new paradigm, a new paradigm about how you're going to develop your applications, because there's abundant API services that become available. It's a new digital supply chain. And with that comes with a new challenge. How do you protect yourself? If something do happen, how do you even get to the bottom of it and respond? Because you're no longer managing and controlling that environment. So the new paradigm is about new app development, new security monitoring, and most important, new security response. And the fourth area, I think people have heard about ML and AI for a long time. And it is truly the new frontier. And it is truly powered by data. And this is an asymmetric arms race, or war, as you call it. Why? Well, we have a lot of regulations. We have data privacy, and they're all good things for the consumers. The adversaries don't have any of those. They don't have regulators. They don't have lawyers. They can harvest whatever data to help train their models and get better. And more to that is also, if they got something wrong, the consequences is very minimal. So it is truly asymmetric, and our only way to get in front of it is work together and standardize on a lot of things so we can truly harvest the power of it and leverage the data we have.
As the world reopens, ServiceNow is helping customers make sure going back to the workplace works for everyone. Introducing the Safe Workplace apps and dashboard. 4 apps specifically designed to help ensure the health and safety of your workforce and workplace, all housed in a single dashboard to give you a comprehensive look into everything you need to know. And they're available now, out of the box, powered by the Now platform. Get a bird's eye view to make sure your employees are prepared and ready to go back to the workplace. Manage inventory levels across your organisation thanks to workflows that automatically replenish supplies. Screen and verify the health of your employees, and help manage workflows for cleaning, sanitation and safe distancing for employees. 4 essential apps, 1 comprehensive dashboard. Together, we can make sure going back to the workplace can work for everyone. That's the power of the Now platform.
Last but not least, this year, many of you have seen the world become ever more distributed, remote working, and things are all happening on the edge, in our autonomous cars, on our phones. And there's a new dynamic that's forming for the digital workforce. The digital workforce requires a lot of flexibility. It also opens up a lot of new attack surface. So what we are facing this year, there's some of the things that has been there, like data and automation. There and cloud is picking up. The velocity is unforeseen before. The edge computing, the digital workforce is a new dynamic that we have to embrace and figure out. And that requires a lot of security. So great news for all of us. Next, please. I think we have covered some of the reasons those trends are being sort of created because many convergences are happening around us. The cloud security and DevOps team, the API services and app security, and ITOT, and cybersecurity now needs to be tied to business risk. And everybody wants to be mobile. The edge computing become much more, powerful, and we need to protect them better. Continue, please. Next slide. So as we sort of all think about our role in embracing the chaos, one of the things that we all sort of zero in on is how do we reimagine cybersecurity and evolve the security operations? Reimagining means not just repotting it from on-prem to the cloud. Evolving it does not mean we're just going to do the same thing over and over again, just with different technology. It's really rethinking the premise of what security needs to be in the future and what are the things we need to retool. So if we could skip another 2 slides to go into really what some of the things our customers has been telling us in our connections is they truly want to have their security operations to become a nerve center. We all know how powerful our brains are, right? We all know that's really orchestrate everything we do as a human being. And it's not just formulas, it's a lot of intuition. And the vision of delivering a security nerve center is shared by many of the industry players. And with that advancement in technology, in the various things you can see here with APIs, with automation, we are getting closer and closer for more and more customers to be able to build that security nerve center and to truly power the observe, orient, decide, and act. We call the OODA loop. So if you think about the technology that's powering it, the next slide will just show it's actually fairly straightforward. It's about having a data platform, it's having an analytics engine, and having the operational platform that can bring everything together. And as you can see, this is not a vendor gonna take it all. This requires the whole ecosystem to work together, work very closely to make that happen. Next slide, give you a quick example of what are the top key things the customers in the SOC expect our industry to deliver better. And this came from many of the user research we have done. And this is definitely takes the entire industry because Splunk focuses on data foundation. Splunk focuses on an integrated work surface to bring all the steps together. But each of the industry vendors have much deeper knowledge like EDRs, NDRs, and threat intelligence and IAMs. They all provide the right context, right intelligence, and the right APIs to take appropriate actions. And the important thing of the future is they're not taking those actions individually. It needs to happen in concert. And that really speaks to volumes of how the industry needs to come together and standardize on APIs and standardize on data exchanges and leveraging all the technologies, but most importantly, to provide the ability for us to deliver to the customer an integrated, seamless experience for what they need to do that's most important to them in the security operations. Next, please. So one of the things that I think we all aspire to do, we in the industry or customers of ours, are also just like, what is the SOC of the future? How do we modernize it? What are the things we need to all work on? And it really comes down to, we have to take an end-to-end approach. We really have to leverage the advancement in analytics like machine learning, AI, big data, because data gonna give us the insights, gonna power our decisions, and gonna make sure we take the right actions at the right time. And the third thing is about really retooling and streamlining the security operations. Again, this is not about redoing the things that you have done before, just using a different technologies. Really thinking with the end goal, with automation, orchestration to help you with responding at machine speed. How would you rethink about your processes and the technologies you adopt and the data you leverage? And last but not least, as is really the most important part, is there's so many technology vendors that coming into the security business. And some of them are bringing a lot of depth, some of them are bringing a lot of history, and some of them are bringing a very new way of thinking. And all of us as leaders and entrepreneurs in the industry need to really think about, we continue to extend the ecosystem, because sometimes the best solution may not come from the security vendor, may come from a DevOps solution to help us make things better, may come from inspirations from even the biotech industry that give us a better idea on how to do things. You know, I always believe the viruses in the physical world and in the cyber world has a lot in common. The approach to handle that has a lot in common as well. So my call to action for us is really embrace the chaos, but also embrace our ecosystem. Next, please. Just to summarize, we really live in unprecedented times. I know this year has been super chaotic, eventful. We all managed to find ways to continue on with our lives, with our business, and some actually are able to break new grounds. And again, if you watch the NASDAQ, you can see all those players who has embraced, digitized world and e-commerce and really fared really well, right, in the chaotic times. So chaos does breed opportunity, and opportunities would drive a new wave of innovation. So to recap, we are really uniquely positioned as an industry to capitalize on what's happening and to disrupt the way of things has been and to innovate. And with that, let me hand this back to Nate so we can go into a Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Haiyan. That was quite uplifting, very informative, quite thought-provoking. It's quite amazing how you went from chaos to data to management to business opportunities and almost like a social models for us to be better. So this is quite amazing. So Haiyan, I've got a few questions from the audience, and I peppered that with a few of my own, and would love to have your perspectives. Haiyan, so woman tech leader, cybersecurity. If I were to draw Venn diagrams, right, that would almost be a null set, right? So, which is a sort of a shame, but would love to hear from you in your own words, your career journey, right? About where what are the key milestones, your business travels that led you to where you are. Our audience has some very unique group of people. We've got very ambitious professionals. We've got entrepreneurs. We got wanapreneurs who want to start businesses. All of them would love to benefit from your journey and lessons learned. So, can you take us through your travels, your business travel?
Sure. Maybe I'll start from, you talked about the school I went to in China, and it is, at the time, it's very engineering centric. There's only about 3% women in that college. I always attribute back to how that has shaped my view of, being in engineering. I was very fortunate. The professors and students' body didn't really treat sort of gender as one of the things that's differentiated how we do academically. To the contrary, we always joke about actually, women students in the college are, few and far between, and they're being sort of admired in so many ways. So that built a lot of confidence. So I think that's an important thing to have as we grow up, as we continue to, advance in your career, having that confidence, you are equal, you can do what everyone else can do. And maybe even there's certain advantages of being the minority because you can bring a unique, a diversity to that. So that's number one, I would recommend people to remember. And you talked about my career at Informix. That's my first job, and it was a job that I actually, had for a company I worked for 9 years, almost 10 years, but various jobs. One of the most important learnings from that for me was when I got plugged out of my security program and to go work on a Windows NT program. I told my manager, I've not even touched a Windows machine. Why do you think I should go lead a NT product line? They said, we believe you can. And reluctantly, I took the job, and that's really was one of the best career decisions because you truly learn to manage, to lead, not because you're the expert in the area. You hone your leadership skill, management skills. You really rely on the team to do the right things. So that give you so much confidence in your future, whether you venture into entrepreneurship, you take a different job, work a different company. Highly recommend it if you take any opportunities that's given to you and try that out. So embrace that change. A third area I would say is, to me, is going from Informix to a startup company where I used to work on system software and then dive into a company that was at the time, I think we're a little early than the market was ready for us, but it's called application service provider. We were literally building Amazon in a box for all the websites. Being a system software and learning to build an end-to-end service, that's eye-opening, and that's a great learning experience. So don't be afraid to cross domains and learn a different perspective. That would be my, third. As women engineers and women leaders, I think we always been facing that, I remember walking into a room, the Kleiner sort of was hosting all the VP of engineering for their portfolio company. And I was like, wow, I don't see anybody like me other than some of the event folks who's organizing it. It can be intimidating, but in the meantime, I think that give you motivation to say, what are the things I can do to help sort of bring that pipeline community together. And at ArcSight, I was super proud. At the end, a lot of my leadership team are women leaders. And it's not because I was looking specifically, it's just we had a whole community and they emerge and they are promoted, for merits, not because the gender and other things. I believe that, firmly. The last sort of one I would share is really sort of coming through my roles from engineering leader to a business leader as a general manager. I used to think about solving every problem using technology and a feature. Now I think holistically with partnership, with pricing, with different things. So if you have an opportunity to broaden your horizon, go do that and work with the industry. That's actually one of the things women leaders do extremely well, because we are usually more collaborative. Maybe I'll stop there before I become too stereotyping, certain sort of genders, but it's true.
Fantastic, Haiyan. That's almost, I'm sure everybody in the audience will concur with me that that's sort of a nice 1-minute MBA in a box, right? It's fantastic. So let's look at the industry, right? We're dealing with Splunk's market cap is $35 billion. So is Palo Alto. So is CrowdStrike. These are all, so it's not that companies are not buying enough world-class security software. They certainly are buying. It's not that, there's always a talent shortage, but security industry has some of the best brains in the industry, which I'm sure you'll agree, right? And we're buying tools, we got buying brains, people, but still you see the Twitter breach, you see the Zoom breach. What are we missing? So clearly we're doing lots of things right. You touched upon some of the things we are not doing right, which is very, very informative. But what are the top 3 things you would do if you were the CISO of, just pick Twitter, Zoom, DocuSign, you name it, right? If you were to be a CISO, what are the kinds of things you would do? Or if you were to give advice to a CISO, what would they be?
As you mentioned, despite all the great brains and technology and investment, right, companies put into this, breach does happen. I always equate sort of the cyber world with the physical world. We know no matter how clean we are, we sometimes do get viruses and bacteria in our life. You can't really presume that you will be an airtight sort of defense. And if you do, that won't last very long. So my number one advice is really sort of change your premises. Don't try to just build something that's airtight and assume they're going to come in, assume they may be already in. I think that changes how you think about security. That's number one. And number two, I think I sort of alluded to that a little bit in the keynote, is data going to be foundational for everything we do. And think about your security strategy with data being a very foundational part, integral part. Many times is really the deciding part on how you approach your investment and others. And the third one, it's just automation. Automation, everything is happening at machine speed. And even if you are really good at things, you can't compete with the computers on how fast they can do things. And even if you have money, you may not be able to hire all the brains that you need to do that. So automation is a really important thing. And we will continue to make progress, but just don't assume that you ever get to an airtight. This is probably job security for all of you. But one of the things that we should do is each of us pick an area and solve a hard problem, solve them really well. Don't try to chase the ambulance, and that won't advance the industry as much.
Great. Thank you, Haiyan. So there's a term which I read in Economist magazine. Economist is such a great magazine, you always pick up new terms. But one term which I'd never heard about is deglobalization. And Economist mentioned that the last 12, 18 months of political undercurrents, the global issues, has led to one of the largest waves of deglobalization, where from saying data has no borders to data is highly, highly secured within a country, right? And Splunk, in your capacity, you sell to governments, you advise governments. So, what is your view on GDPR, CCPA? Singapore's own data privacy standards. How does that impact? I mean, is the world going more and more sort of anti-global, right? From where you sit, what do you see?
Yeah, I have to admit it's very disheartening to see some of the things that has happened in the last 12 to 18 months. Because we were all, maybe just naively thinking the world is all coming together. We can all collaborate. We all gonna sort of advance our lives and technology together. But it's a trend, and I think the direction is not necessarily to what we all want. I think there's a couple of thoughts that I have around that. As a consumer, I actually agree that all the governments, different countries needs to take their citizens' privacy seriously and needs to put boundaries, needs to demand better data management and privacy and controls for, all the technology companies are being a global, whether it's deglobalizing or what, the technology does not have boundaries. So they still gonna serve, right, the citizens in the world. So I think it's the right thing for the government, EUs and others to demand better privacy, better controls. As a technology provider, that just adds a lot more wrinkles to what you need to do, how fast you can get to the market. I think the advice I would have is, it's just like, we live in sort of, a country and a state. There are obligations, like paying taxes, and we can argue about, what's reasonable, but there's certain things we do that's part of what we do as a citizen. I think being compliant to a lot of those are really the things that we need to do as a global technology provider, and we should embrace it. And as an industry, hopefully we can all work together to make it easier, because if the people who are generating data take some caution into how the data can be categorized, can be tagged, it's a little easier for the downstream, technology vendors who know how to manage it better. So I think this is an opportunity. Again, it's challenging, but it's an opportunity for a lot of companies to get together and figure out how to make it easier. So data privacy and being compliant is not taking 80% of effort. Maybe it takes 10% of effort. I'm just hoping.
Great. Thank you, Haiyan. I'll ask one more question and then we'll wrap up. Again, TIE is all about bringing entrepreneurs together. So there's no entrepreneurship without having an investor perspective, right? So if you were to be a VC, super VC, Midas Touch VC, which you are, if you had $1 million, right? What sector, what stage, sector, category, country, technology area you'd invest in?
Wow. There's so many opportunities. I
$1
think we
million
always,
and one investment.
yeah, $1 million, one investment. Wow, that's, I would say look for an intersection. Look for an intersection that can simplify the data analytics, can deliver security in the new cloud computing paradigm, and really leverage, the new API economy. That I think is going to be one of the determining factors of how cloud going to come with security assurance in the future. And there's still so much to be figured out, and look for intersection in those areas, leverage data, leveraging the new paradigm, or embrace the new paradigm, and think about the new frontiers like API economy. There's a lot of help that's needed by the industry, by our customers.
Great. Folks, that's an PRD, MRD, high level, I'll bet. So there you have it. So there's a startup to be born today. Thank you very much, Haiyan. That's so kind of you, given your busy schedule. Really appreciate you making time. I hope all of you found it informative, exciting, engaging. I certainly did. Thank you, Haiyan. And all of you have a wonderful day ahead. With that, let me
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was fantastic. On behalf of everyone here at TiCon, I thank you, Haiyan, for the enlightening keynote and your insights today. I'm sure everyone now has a far better understanding of the cybersecurity situation. I particularly liked your tactic for dealing with chaos and reimagining cybersecurity. How fitting for the times we are in. So once again, thank you. Nat, thanks for moderating. It was very interactive.
Pleasure. Thank you, Haiyan.
It was very interacting and engaging. I also want to thank our lovely audience for making the time to attend. Hope you all enjoyed the keynote as much as I did.